Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Recha Kudash. Double honors to the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone, and peace and blessings to the elect. And today we're going to go into the book of Luke, the 14th chapter. And it came to pass, as he went into the house of one of the chief Pharisees to eat bread on the Sabbath day, that they watched him. And behold, there was a certain man before him which had the dropsy. And let's click into this here. Yeah, I believe when you look into that in the modern sense, it would be edema, which is like having like swollen legs, ankles, and all of those things. It says here, there was a man there whose arms and legs were swollen. And if we look up here, edema, medical. It says here, edema is the medical term for swelling caused by excess fluid trapped in the body's tissues, often in the legs, feet, and ankles, but also in hands, abdomen, or lungs. So, verse 3, and Yahushua answering spake unto the lawyers and Pharisees, saying, Is it lawful to heal on the Sabbath day? And they held their peace. And he took him and healed him and let him go. And answered them, saying, Which of you shall have an ass or an ox fallen into a pit, and will not straightway pull him out on the Sabbath day? Since it's the Sabbath and you're not supposed to work, right? And they could not answer him again to these things. And he put forth a parable to those which were bidden, because remember it said in the first verse that on the Sabbath he went to one of the chief Pharisees' place to eat. So those that were bidden were those that were invited there. So he put forth this parable to the guests, when he marked how they chose out the chief rooms, saying unto them. See, so when he observed how everybody was trying to go, to top areas, the best seats, when thou art bidden of any man to a wedding, sit not down in the highest room, lest a more honorable man than thou be bidden of him. And he that bade thee and him come and say to thee, Give this man place, and thou begin with shame to take the lowest room. See, so don't immediately go to the highest place or highest seat or highest room, because there may be somebody more honorable than you that was also invited. And you thinking you the top dog, you go and sit there, and then the host has to come and now tell you, no, that's you got to go to a lower seat. Somebody more honorable than you is here. He's going to have this seat. And now look at you being ashamed, having been publicly demoted. But when thou art bidden, go and sit down in the lowest room, that when he that bade thee cometh, he may say unto thee, Friend, go up higher. Then shalt thou have worship in the presence of them, that meaning you be glory, like they'll praise or glory, like he's important. No, bring him up here. Oh shit, who's that? In the presence of them that sit at meat with thee. So it's more honorable that way to be promoted than to be demoted, especially publicly. For whosoever exalteth himself shall be abased, and he that humbleth himself shall be exalted. So if you try to put yourself on a pedestal, the Lord is going to bring you down. And if you humble yourself, he's going to raise you up. Then said he also to him that bade him, so to the host, When thou makest a dinner or a supper, call not thy friends, nor thy brethren, neither thy kinsmen, nor thy rich neighbors, lest they also bid thee again, and a recompense be made thee. The Lord is not saying that you're not allowed to invite your friends or those. He's just saying, when you have a supper or a dinner, don't make it a habit of always only calling your friends and brethren and kinsmen, because then they'll have a good time, then they'll invite you to theirs, and that's all you get, right? It's just in return you get invited to their banquets and so on. But when thou makest a feast, call the poor, the maimed, the lame, the blind, and thou shalt be blessed, for they cannot recompense thee. for thou shalt be recompensed at the resurrection of the just. Now, most people might think, well, why would I invite them if they can't recompense me? But that's actually a good thing, because the Lord will recompense you on their behalf, and a much greater benefit than if you had invited your friends and kinsmen and somebody who could recompense you. And this is saying you would be blessed at the time of the end, right? At the resurrection of the just, which is the last days, when Yahushua would come back, and those that are dead would be raised up, and everybody would get their judgment or blessing. And when one of them that sat at meat with him heard these things, he said unto him, Blessed is he that shall eat bread in the kingdom of God. So, man, how amazing and blessed would it be to be able to break bread in the kingdom of God? Then said he unto him, A certain man made a great supper, and bade many, and sent his servant at supper time to say to them that were bidden, Come, for all things are now ready. And they all with one consent began to make excuse. The first said unto him, I have bought a piece of ground that I must needs go and see it. I pray thee have me excused. Oh, no, I can't come. I just bought this new land and I got to go and make sure it's all good. I'm sorry, I can't make it. And another said, I have bought 5 yoke of oxen and I go to prove them. I pray thee have me excused. I got to go test them out and, break them in and have them ready for I'm sorry, I can't come. And another said, I have married a wife and therefore I cannot come. No, I have to go. I just got married. I'm sorry. So that servant came and shewed his lord these things. Then the master of the house, being angry, said to his servant, Go out quickly into the streets and the lanes of the city, and bring in hither the poor, and the maimed, and the halt, and the blind. And the servant said, Lord, it is done as thou hast commanded, and yet there is room. And the Lord said unto the servant, Go out into the highways and hedges, and compel them to come in, that my house may be filled. For I say unto you, that none of those men which were bidden shall taste of my supper. And the importance, okay, of this parable is that there are some that are invited, okay, that are bidden to come to the supper of the Lord, right, which is into this gospel, into this knowledge, which is likened unto that supper. The scriptures mention in Revelation, I believe 3, right, how if the Lord knocks at the door, which is the door of your mind, if you open unto him, he will come in and sup with you, right? And that's working with you in your mind and in the spirit, that you may grow and understand these scriptures. So we are likened unto that servant, okay, who the Lord sent us out to go and call the Israel to this truth, right? That's what we do. That's why we go on the highways and byways to bid them to come to this supper. All right. But you have a lot of people that make excuses for why they're not. Oh no, I'm too busy, or I have school, or I do this and that and the third. And they have all these excuses why they can't come and serve the Lord, why they can't come and take heed to the what the Lord has to say. But you have those, right, that are considered the maimed and the blind and so on, that actually would hear this and they would come in. And the rest, as it says, they're not going to taste of that supper. Okay, so this all, spiritually tied to how things are even playing out now. Similar to how it was back then, right? Same thing. You had people making excuses back then. You have people making excuses now. Verse 25, and there went great multitudes with him, and he turned and said unto them, being Yahushua, right? So wherever he went, most of the time, you had people that were there, that would listen, that would follow him. So he turns and says unto them, If any man come to me and hate not his father and mother and wife and children and brethren and sisters, yea, and his own life also, he cannot be my disciple. Now, this doesn't mean, the Lord is not saying here that you have to go and I like absolutely hate my whole family and I hate everybody and like, no, he's not saying that, because how the scriptures also say you got to honor your father and your mother. But then why would the Lord come and say, no, go and hate them? That's not what he means. Or that's not what it means. When you go into the word hate, you'll see in it has hatred, detested, but the meaning is really in the Strong's definition here, where it says at the last part, by extension, to love less. Okay, to love less. And so when the Lord said that if you don't hate any of them, you cannot be his disciple, what he really is saying is you have to love the Lord. If you're going to be his disciple, you have to love the Lord and put him first above them all. You cannot love them more than you love the Lord, or else you cannot be his disciple. Okay? So whatever the Lord requires, because even in our minds, we prioritize people that we either love more or have in higher regard than others. If say you had only one free day and you had a friend from high school ask you to hang out versus somebody that was much closer to you than them that you had in higher regard, who would you give that day to? The one that you loved more. See? So the Lord is saying, well, if you're going to serve me, if you're going to be my disciple, I'm not going to be a second option. I have to be the priority so that what I say goes. In the case, for example, there's a conflict, you choose the Lord first. So it doesn't mean go out there and I hate you and no. That's not what it's talking about. Verse 27, and whosoever doth not bear his cross and come after me cannot be my disciple. Right, you gotta bear your cross, bear your burdens, and come and be willing to go through the things you have to go through, the temptation and the difficulties and the straight gate, and serve and follow the Lord. If you're not willing to do that, and you haven't been mentally persuaded and prepared, you cannot be his disciple. You can try, but if you're not fully resolved, it will not work for you. For which of you intending to build a tower sitteth not down first and counteth the cost, whether he have sufficient to finish it? Right? So before you go ahead and build, it's the smart thing is to count and account for the materials you're going to need, the labor, the time, and make sure you have all the things that are needed in order to finish this building. Lest haply after he hath laid the foundation and is not able to finish it, all that behold it begin to mock him, right? To say, look, this guy, he started this, he couldn't even finish it. Why would you start it in the first place? Look at that unfinished thing over there. Saying, this man began to build and was not able to finish. And that's like those that come into the truth or come into the ministry and they don't count the cost, right? They're not fully resolved. Guess what? They'll labor for a while, but eventually they become examples of what not to be because they didn't finish. Verse 31, or what king goeth to make war against another king, sitteth not down first, and consulteth whether he be able with 10,000 to meet him that cometh against him with 20,000. Right. Aren't you, if you're going to war, wouldn't you strategize and understand whether the men that you have are sufficient or skilled enough to go against one who may have double your size? Or else, while the other is yet a great way off, he sendeth an embassage and desireth conditions of peace. Right? Yeah, you know what? We don't look like we're going to stand a chance against this. Before they even come and start attacking, let's just go and declare and sue for peace. So likewise, whosoever he be of you that forsaketh not all that he hath, he cannot be my disciple. Salt is good, but if the salt have lost his savor, i.e. the saltiness, wherewith shall it be seasoned? Right? How is it? What good or use is salt if it's not salty? It is neither fit for the land, nor yet for the dunghill, but men cast it out. He that hath ears to hear, let him hear. And likewise, us being in this knowledge, if you, matter of fact, let's go into this word salt. But if you are not of use to the Lord, halas, look at that. It's used in the sense of actual salt, but also in the last definition, it says wisdom and grace exhibited in speech. Okay. But if you being in this knowledge or having been given this knowledge, which can also be likened unto salt, right? To savor or season your speech. If you lose that, what use are you to the Lord? What good are you to the Lord? And eventually what's going to happen to you? You're going to be cast out. And that brings us to the end of the book of Luke, the 14th chapter. Lord willing, that was edifying to the elect. In closing, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Recha Kudash. And until next time, Shalom.